My name is Mark, and I have been renting room 6 at the Ashford Street boarding house for about 3 weeks now. It is nothing special. 4 rooms down one hallway, 2 on the other, a shared bathroom at the end. Cheap rent, the place smells like dust and old wallpaper glue, but there is something about room number 6, something that was not in the ad, something that I did not notice until it was too late. I moved in on a Wednesday. The landlord, Mrs. Keller, was a thin woman with deep wrinkles and watery eyes that don't quite look at you. She handed me a brass key and told me, "Don't leave your window open at night." She did not say why. The first couple of nights were fine. The walls thin, but the other tenants mostly kept to themselves, except for the one across the hall, room 5. I never saw the door open, but I had heard slow, dragging footsteps pacing back and forth in there. Sometimes I would hear a low hum, like someone trying to remember a tune but getting it wrong, over and over. On my 4th night, I woke up around 3 a.m. The pacing in room 5 had stopped. Instead, there was a soft tapping, not on my wall, on my window. I live on the 2nd floor. The next morning, I caught Mrs. Keller in the hallway. I told her someone might be playing a prank on me, climbing up to my window. She just shook her head and said, "Don't look when you hear it." Then she walked away. That night, I could not sleep. I sat in bed, staring at the curtains, listening. Around 2:45, I heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. Slow, patient. I pulled the blanket over my head and stayed still until sunrise. By the end of the first week, my nerves were shot. I started trying to distract myself, going out more, staying out late work. But no matter what, the tapping would start once I was in bed. One night, I had enough. I told myself I had just pulled the curtain back for a second, proved to myself there was nothing there, and finally get some sleep. I waited for taps. They come right on schedule. 3 slow knocks, then silence.
The next morning, I decided to try talk to the guy in room 5. Maybe he knew something. I knocked. No answer. The door was not locked, though it opened a few inches when I pushed. The room was empty, completely empty. No bed, no clothes, not even dust where furniture should have been. And in the center of the floor, scratched into the wood, were 4 words: "Don't open your window." The tapping got louder. It was not just at night anymore. Sometimes while I was eating dinner, I'd hear it faint, like it was coming from far away. And the humming from room 5, it had moved. Now it was behind my wall. Sometime I wake up and hear breathing, not through the door, inside the room. I asked Mrs. Keller about room 5 again. She just said it had been empty for years. When I told her about the humming and breathing, she gave me this flat look. "If you see it, don't let it in." Last night, it got worse. The taps turned in pounding, heavy, shaking the glass, pounding. I sat frozen, eyes on the curtain. Then came the voice, "Mark, let me in." It did not sound like a stranger. It sounded like me. I did not move. I did not move. I did not breathe. Then the pounding stopped. Silence. I thought it was over until I heard the window latch slide open on its own. The curtain began to move, slow and deliberate, like something was pushing it aside from the outside. I did not remember deciding to move, but suddenly I was out of bed, running for the bed, running for the door. The hallway was dark, but I could see that room 5's door was wide open. From inside, the humming started again, louder now, almost frantic. I heard something crawling across my floor behind me. That sound was wrong, too fast, too many joints. And then the voice again, closer, sharper. "Mark, Let me see your face." I did not look back. I ran for the stairs. But halfway down, the air turned cold, heavy, like breathing underwater. And at the bottom of the stair was Mrs. Keller. She was smiling. Her eyes were black, like the pupils had swallowed everything else. She said, "You opened the window, didn't you?" I did not answer. She stepped aside. Behind her, in the lobby, was a figure, tall, thin, bending at angles that bones should not bend. Its face was pressed against the inside glass front door, and it was smiling. I don't remember leaving. I don't remember running down Ashford Street, but I am not going back. If you ever find yourself there in room 6, listen to me. Don't open the window. Don't talk to the man in room 5. And if you hear tapping, it's already too late.
I never thought I'd end up in a place like this. The apartment was in an old, crumbling building on the edge of town, the kind where the walls seemed to lean in like they were listening. Rent was dirt cheap. Too cheap, really, but after losing my job, I didn't have options. The landlord handed me the keys with a weird smile, saying something about the place having character. Character, yeah, right. From the moment I stepped inside, it felt wrong. The air was thick, almost sticky, and the shadows in the corners stretched too far, even in daylight. The floors creaked under my feet like bones shifting, and the windows were fogged with grime that no amount of wiping could clear. But I told myself it was just an old dump. I'd fix it up, make it home. That first night, I couldn't sleep. The bed was lumpy, the room too cold. Around midnight, I felt it, a presence. Not a sound, just this heavy weight in the air, like someone standing over me. I sat up, heart pounding, and there it was, a figure at the foot of the bed. It wasn't solid, more like a shimmer in the dark, tall and thin, with eyes that glowed faintly, like embers in ash. It didn't move, but I knew it was watching. Then, in my head, not a voice exactly, but a clear demand. A drop of blood for the rent. I laughed at first, nerves frayed. Had to be a nightmare. But it didn't go away. The figure just stood there, waiting. My skin prickled, and this chill seeped into my bones. Figuring I'd play along to make it stop, I pricked my finger with a thumbtack from my junk drawer. A single drop hit the floor, soaking in like the wood was thirsty. The figure faded, and the pressure lifted. I shook it off as stress, maybe bad takeout, but deep down, I knew it wasn't. The next night, it came back. Same time, same spot. A drop of blood for the rent. I did it again, quicker this time. The prick stung, but the relief when it vanished was worth it. I started sleeping better after that, or at least pretending to. The apartment felt a little less oppressive during the day, like I'd paid my dues. I even unpacked some boxes, tried to make the place livable. But each night, that figure returned, demanding its drop. My finger scabbed over, then healed, but I kept giving. After a week, things changed. The figure appeared, but the demand was different. 2 drops for the rent. I hesitated, staring at those glowing eyes. Why more? But the air grew heavier, pressing on my chest until I could barely breathe. I squeezed out 2 drops, watching them vanish into the floor. It left, but I felt weaker, drained in a way that sleep couldn't fix. It escalated slowly, night by night. 3 drops, then 5. I switched fingers, then used a knife for cleaner cuts. The figure never explained, never threatened outright. It just waited, and the pressure built until I complied. My hands were a mess of tiny scars, and I started feeling lightheaded during the day, like I'd donated blood too often. The apartment seemed to pulse with satisfaction each time, the shadows retreating a bit. But I couldn't leave. Every time I thought about packing up, this fog settled in my mind, making excuses. The rent was paid, after all.
Then came the night it asked for a vial. Not drops, a full vial of my blood. I argued in my head, pleading silently, but it stood there, unyielding. The room grew colder, the walls closing in until I gasped for air. I filled a small glass from the kitchen, slicing my arm deeper than before. The blood swirled down like it was being sucked in, and the figure lingered longer, as if savoring it. I bandaged up, but the weakness hit hard. I could barely stand the next day, my vision blurring at the edges. A few nights later, it demanded more. A cup. I didn't have that much to give without passing out. I tried, cutting deeper, but it wasn't enough. The figure's eyes flared brighter, and the demand shifted. Blood from another, from the neighbors, for the rent. My stomach twisted. No way. But the pressure mounted, a vice on my skull. I lay there sweating, fighting it, until dawn broke and it faded. That day, I avoided everyone, holed up in my room. But night came, and so did it. Blood from the neighbors. I paced, heart racing, but the air thickened until I couldn't think straight. The old lady next door was first, Mrs. Harlan, always baking cookies, leaving them by my door like a welcome. I knocked late, pretending I needed sugar. She let me in, trusting. I don't remember much, just the flash of the knife, her gasp, collecting what I needed in a jar. Not enough to kill her, I told myself, just a bit. She slumped, dazed, as I slipped out. Back in my apartment, I poured it out. The figure absorbed it greedily, the shadows dancing like they were alive. It wanted more after that, not just any blood, specific ones. The young couple upstairs, the guy across the hall. I became a ghost myself, sneaking in the dark, taking what it demanded. Cuts turned to deeper wounds. The neighbors whispered about break-ins, injuries, but no one suspected me. I was the quiet new guy. Each night, the figure grew clearer, more solid, its form twisting into something almost human, with veins pulsing under translucent skin. One night, it asked for a life. All the blood from one, for the rent. I refused at first, but the pressure crushed me, visions flooding my mind, of endless nights, eternal demands. I chose the landlord, the one who'd smiled that weird smile. I lured him over with a complaint about leaks. The struggle was brief. He was old. I dragged him in, let the floor drink him dry. The figure swelled, filling the room, its eyes locking on mine. Now, it's not just demanding, it's promising. More power, more life, if I keep paying. The apartment isn't scary anymore, it's mine, alive with us. But sometimes, in the quiet, I wonder if I'm the tenant or the rent. The figure stands closer each night, whispering in my head, more, always more. And I know, soon, it'll ask for everything. The first sign was the scent of perfume. Not my perfume, something old-fashioned like lilacs and dust, a ghost of a fragrance that would appear in the hallway and vanish before I could place it. I chalked it up to the building's ancient ventilation, or a memory triggered by the smell of my own soap. Then, the shadows began to feel patient. It wasn't anything I could prove. You can't take a picture of a feeling. But I'd wait in the deep, soundless hours of the night with the certain, unshakable knowledge that the darkness in the corner of my bedroom was waiting. Not threatening, not yet, just observing. A dense, silent audience of one. I live alone. I've always cherished the silence, the sovereignty over my own space. But the silence began to change. It wasn't an absence of sound anymore. It was a held breath. I found myself tiptoeing in my own home, as if not to disturb someone.
or something. The small things piled up. A book I'd left on the coffee table would be on the shelf in the morning. A single cup, clean and dry, would be sitting in the middle of the kitchen counter. I told myself I was forgetful, stressed from work, my mind playing tricks. The human brain is a pattern-seeking machine, and mine was evidently finding patterns in chaos. But the reflection broke me. I was brushing my teeth, lost in the mundane ritual, when I saw it in the mirror. Just for a fraction of a second, a flicker in the periphery behind me. A woman, pale and indistinct, sitting on the edge of the bathtub. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking down at her hands, folded in her lap, as if in resignation. I spun around, my heart hammering against my ribs. The bathroom was empty. The air was still. That was the moment the fear curdled into a cold, hard certainty. This was not forgetfulness. This was not stress. This was a cohabitation. I started talking to the emptiness. "Good morning," I'd whisper into the quiet apartment. "I'm making tea. Would you like some?" The silence would feel heavier, more attentive. Once, I came home and the single armchair by the window was slightly askew, the indentation in the cushion deep, as if someone had just risen from it. I walked over and placed my hand on the fabric. It was cold. My friends noticed a change. "You look tired," they'd say. "Are you getting out enough?" How could I tell them? I think I'm not alone. They'd smile, offer well-meaning advice about dating or getting a pet. They didn't understand. This wasn't about loneliness. This was about territory. Last night, I decided to test it. A final, desperate experiment to prove my sanity or shatter it completely. I set 2 mugs of steaming tea on the coffee table. I sat in my usual spot and looked at the empty space on the sofa opposite. "I know you're here," I said, my voice trembling only slightly. "We don't have to be strangers." The air grew thick. The scent of lilacs and dust bloomed, so strong it made my eyes water. I watched, my breath caught in my throat as the surface of the tea in the second mug stilled. The tiny, swirling steam currents I could see in my own cup simply stopped in theirs. The liquid became a perfect, motionless pool. And then, a sound, faint like a sigh of immense weariness. It didn't come from the sofa. It came from right beside my ear. A feeling, not a voice, pressed into my mind. It wasn't words, but a clear, profound sentiment of sorrow, of a long, long wait. I am not being haunted. I am being accommodated. This was never my home alone. I am the new tenant, the loud one, the one who disturbs the peace. The thought should terrify me, and it does. But beneath the terror is a stranger, more unsettling emotion, a sense of relief. The confirmation is a poison and a cure. I am not going mad. The shadows are patient because they have all the time in the world. The perfume is a memory I don't possess. The shifted objects are gentle reminders that I share this space. I looked at the still surface of the tea in the second mug, and for the first time, I didn't feel afraid. I felt seen. I think, therefore, I am not alone. And I know now, with a chilling and absolute clarity, that I never will be again.